Welcome to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And today we're going to be talking about Drifting Classroom by okay, so is it Kazu or or
I thought it was Kazuo.
Flip-flopped between two. Kazuo? Okay. Kazuo.
That's what I thought.
Kazuo Umezz.
Kazuo
Umezz.
Umezz.
Okay. Yeah. So, Shawenta, you chose Drifting Classroom. Do you want to speak about it before we really get into the details?
I mean, it came out it was serialized, so it was released in, parts. Yeah, from 1972 to 1974. And, I mean, the dude who wrote and drew it, he's known as, one of the most influential horror mangaka of all time, so I think that's pretty interesting. He's the same guy who did Cat-Eyed Boy, which is a really disturbing and funny one at the same time, and he's known for some of his gag work, too, which, I mean, you can kind of tell. So, that's mostly what I wanted to say.
What is the difference between manga and mangaka?
That's usually the term used for, a person who makes it.
Person who does manga?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
The person who draws the manga is the mangaka.
Mm-hmm. Good question. I definitely know that this book did not take me where I thought it was gonna go, and actually it took quite a while for me to be to really think, because I took it very literally. I was like, oh, they're up in the sky. That's what it is.
Oh, like it's an actually drifting classroom. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way that the synopsis is written, because I never read it before, I always saw people I got the collector's edition, getting excited about it, but I never actually bothered reading it. So based on the synopsis, I thought that it was this classroom has been transported to some monster world, because they said they start getting attacked by monsters or whatever. And so I was assuming I mean, I haven't watched it, but I assumed it was High School of the Dead style. There's monsters roaming the hallways or something zombie-esque.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
Yeah. I definitely also I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Taylor. Sorry.
I didn't read the synopsis at all, so as I was reading it, I got the sense of I thought the people who were going to disappear were everybody else. But, I mean, because I didn't keep in mind the name as I was reading it. So, when it showed the classroom disappear, I was like, are they in the middle of the ocean? I got that.
That makes sense, yeah. This also really reminded me of the book The Girl Who Owned a City. I read the comic book adaptation of it, even though it was originally a short novel. But basically it's I don't think it was taken it almost seems like it could have been inspired by this, but I read up on it once, and the author of the original book basically just came up with it, and he used the money to I don't know, I think he'd buy a house or something. But he was a school teacher basically. But yeah, basically The Girl Who Owned a City, all of the adults die. And so it's the city of children just come together and have infighting and stuff. And it gets pretty violent though. Gotcha. I remember because there's the good faction and the bad faction that kind of happens in this book too, of kids, and then they drop hot oil on them though. It's it's just,
oh my, it's
yeah.
I guess it's I don't want to say based, but it kind of reminded me, not this book so much, but like you're kind of saying that reminded me of like Lord of the Flies.
That's
And
the yep.
Mm-hmm.
I know
was
that's
totally
like-
gonna say like,
I know that's the
and
common
if I
reference
read this
point.
when I was younger, yeah, if I read this when I was younger, I probably would have loved it like a ton because I loved Lord of the Flies. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. In its own messed up way.
But
Okay,
also
so how
some of-
far did you guys read, actually?
All of it.
'Cause I know-
All 750 pages.
All right, we
Yeah.
all read it. That's great.
Okay, phew. So we can actually... Maybe we won't talk about it all, but we know. It's a little long.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to go beat by
Yeah,
beat all 800 pages, but
Mhm.
Dear God, no.
All right, page
Yeah.
1.
We start with the panel.
There were cloudy skies.
Okay. No, but
no, we
also,
can't be doing this.
I did not or I don't know what I expected. I don't read a lot of horror, I guess, probably, but like I just didn't expect the beginning to be so sad. I was like, "No, I know where you're going. Stop it. This is not nice."
Where they didn't go where I thought they were going to go in the beginning. I thought, because I was anticipating the moment when the mother died. I was like, ooh, I don't want to see that. Like,
Yeah,
But it
I
didn't
mean,
go that way.
I guess I kind of thought that the mom might die too a little bit, but mostly I was just all like, I know that she got him the future car. He's so sad.
It makes me think of like a bit of a Twilight episode or something. Almost like with that beginning part where, But I thought that he would find out. He just never does.
I think he'll eventually find it, just not in this volume. I'm like, they wouldn't just leave that there for nothing. But
So I mean, yeah, the intro pretty much begins with what's his face? Is it Kazuo?
no?
Show. Okay, mistaking it for like.
Okay.
Yeah, Show, the main character, a young boy. I don't know. He's in 6th grade, so he's like 11 years old, right? That's about it.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, so he buys the watch for his mom when he's been saving up all that money to buy the little future car. But he ends up going, I should be responsible. He buys the watch for his mom, and of course he drops it, and it gets broken in by cars in the road. I thought that kid was gonna get hit.
yeah,
that's what I
there's a
thought
couple
too.
times in this story where I'm like, they're gonna die, and then it's all like, nope, they didn't die. Don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, okay, you made it look like they were gonna die.
Not so great for some characters, though. But the main characters
yeah.
seem to be walking away from it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is it? He's annoyed at it, and so he runs off and ends up playing at the school grounds with a little kid on a tricycle. And then when he goes home, his mom like scolds him for being so late and dirty. And he kind of thinks about how, annoyed he is. He doesn't want to be a grown up. And how his mom wants him to be a productive member of society. You got to learn to be more dependable. And of course, I love the fact that he just like sees a little package in his backpack when he goes upstairs after like fighting with his mom. He's just like, oh, probably a reference textbook. Like, what kind of reference textbooks do you have that are that size?
The encyclopedia?
I imagined.
Well, yeah, but it's the same dimensions roughly as like a toy car. So like, what kind of? Because that's what we later learn it is like it was a packaged up toy car. So it's like,
yeah, it's a toy car he wanted to buy.
He's in 6th grade, so I'll excuse him being kind of dumb, but at the same time, like, kind of dumb.
I mean, we'll get to some 11-year-olds that I don't excuse for being a little dumb.
But also, like, does his mom just like gift wrap his reference textbooks in his backpack?
That's a good point as well.
Well, not.
Okay, anyway.
I assume she doesn't gift wrap them, she just puts them in there.
But, like, it's very clearly a gift-wrapped thing, or else he would know exactly what it was immediately. So, I don't know, maybe it's book-shaped. Like, he wakes up the next morning, he's late for school, and he fights with his mom again, because he's like, why didn't you wake me up if you heard my alarm going off? And she's like, you need to grow up. The fact where she, like, turns around with the knife and is, like, talking to him, and he's like, oh, are you gonna kill me?
Yeah, for waking up late, they have a lot of time in the morning to argue.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of threw me.
He has enough time to, like, throw everything off the kitchen table, which, Jesus Christ, like, I would not get away with.
No,
I don't
God.
care if you're late for school, you're in more trouble now.
Mm-hmm. I was honestly surprised that the mother yelled back at him. I was like, whoa. I thought you would, like, go for, like, hey, chill out, all right? No, she was like, fine, go then.
I mean, he learned how to yell and fight from somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't his dad, who we don't see until, I think, like, chapter 2 or 3.
Yeah, later.
Mm-hmm. No, it was much later.
No, he comes to grab her or whatever. He's very briefly there, isn't he?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Also, like, I was just gonna say, like, I realized that this, like you said, this was written in the 1970s, and, like, I think it's, like, John Piaget or something. He's a French guy, like, just developed, like, child psychology, but man, people do not know how to treat children like children at all.
Yeah, him and his mom, like, then they fight over the fact that she threw out his marbles. And he's like, you don't understand, I won against the 4th graders with those marbles. Like, the uttermost importance.
Honestly, I thought that was just a difference in culture. Like, I thought, oh, well, if maybe that's how Japanese culture they expressed.
I was gonna say that it is very Japanese for her to be specifically like, you need to learn to be a productive member of society. But
yeah, no, I definitely recognized the cultural difference, but, like, the fact still remains: children are children, no matter what the culture they grow up in. But yeah, I basically, like, I know why it is the way it is, both the time period and the location, but just, like, it's like, ooh, that's...
Yeah, where he, like, calls his mom an idiot, and she's immediately like, you're the idiot.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be too hard on the mom, because, like, when he comes back, is like, what else do you throw away? It's like, she threw away, like, junk. She threw away
gunpowder.
Yeah, just some weird wire, a snake skin that you had, a broken piece off of a plane. Like, oh, garbage.
I do love him calling her a witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that censoring, or is that his language?
I mean,
no.
This was also written in the 1970s, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, also, I think that later on in the story, like, you know, we won't get into it, but the princess girl, one of her friends calls the other girl that's, like, on So's side, well, the B word. So,
yeah.
It's
the
not
B
like
version of that word.
Yeah. So, yeah. Also, yeah, but as far as the mom, yeah, I sympathized with him first, but then later on when she, like, kind of is, like, introspective about their fight before she knows that he's missing, I'm like, aw, she's trying to take care of him.
It kind of reminded me of, like, if you had, like, Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, but, like, as a real kid.
I mean, yeah, it's like, it makes sense why she was, like, cleaning out his stuff and, like, trying to help, you know, pick up his room. He's a young kid, he probably doesn't care about half that stuff. But But of course, her reaction to him fighting with her is not great, where she's like, I wish you weren't my mother. And she's like, I wish you weren't my child. He's like, well, I'm never coming home again. She's like, don't you come home again. Like, that's not a good reaction.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Everybody Hates Chris episode. Same exact thing, except he wouldn't clean up after his sibling. Like, all right, go then. Like, all right, I will. I love the part in that episode where he's just like throwing dishes outside. It's like, oh, you want me to clean up? I'll clean up.
Oof. Gosh.
So he like fights with his mom to the point where he's like, I was so mad I tossed the package from my backpack without even opening it. Just like so vindictive, he's like willing to, get rid of his own stuff at this point.
Yeah.
And so him and his friend try to rush to school. They both realize they forgot their lunch money, even though they're already late. And so his friend is like, oh, man, I don't care. I need to go back and, get my lunch money. You tell the teacher why I'm late. And so he runs off. And he's able to get his lunch money, but he's still, of course, late. The alarm goes off. And not the alarm. The bell goes off. And then he hears this huge noise. And, like, all around him the windows are crashing and like people are falling over because it's just like such a mind-numbing noise, I guess. That's what's said later. Yeah, and then he ends up like running onto the school sign and he's like, what is it doing here? It's so far away. And once he gets to where the school should be, it's not there. It's just this huge like hole.
Yeah. That was surprising.
I should say
the disappearance?
Yeah, or the hole, I guess, and like everything. Okay. I was like, oh. I guess I just didn't expect it all the way. What were you gonna say though, Sean?
Yeah, it's not it's not that deep of a hole, but it's still like such an interesting idea that it just looks like it was kind of dug out a little bit. And it's just gone. Instead of just like the building disappearing or whatever, like they get a little bit of the land.
Mm-hmm.
But I should say, well, I'll say this later actually. But his mom is reflecting back on it. I owe my son an apology. Well, Sho's mom is reflecting back on this, and the vase is broken. She's like, wonder what caused all this. And then she realizes that Sho forgot his money for school, so she tries to call the school, and she's not able to get through. So she ends up, like, walking there. And as she's walking, she sees everybody, like, freaking out, because, like, seems there's been a gas explosion at the school, some people say. And she's like, what? What happened? And they're like, that's all we know. So, everybody's end up running towards the school. And she ends up meeting, Shinichi, the little friend of her son, who was going to school with him, and he's still hugging the sign. And, of course, now it goes back to, like, Sho's point of view. Once he got to the school, they had the, opening ceremony, or whatever, the opening assembly, that's it. I do like that, like, everybody, like, nearly everybody in Sho's class forgot their lunch money, as always, because they're kids. And so, feel a little bit less embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And as everybody's laughing that, they all forgot their lunch money, the classroom kind of feels like it's moving, and they realize the chalk is, like, falling over, because it's shifting so much. And then, of course, they hear the loud noise, and, like, a lot of the windows break. What's her face? Oh, Saki, the little girl that sits next to Sho.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so everybody, they kind of react like it's an earthquake. So they're hiding under their desks and whatever, and they get back out and they're yelling at each other, oh, you were cowering, oh, it was just a little shaking. And, their teacher, what's his name? Mr. Waka? I don't remember at the moment.
Is it
But,
Yukihira?
they try to go... I thought it started with a W.
Wakahara?
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
They're talking about little social studies and, like, what they want to be when they grow up. And they're kind of making fun of each other again. Like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, but you couldn't even dissect the frog in class. And then they end up seeing one of the other teachers, Mr. Sakura, collapsing out in the school grounds. And all the teachers go out to investigate. And, the teachers go out to investigate, and they see the teachers at the front gate kind of just standing there, and shows, like, something's weird about this, I know they said to stay here, but I'm going to go check it out. They're just kind of standing there. They aren't coming back to see us. And I do like Saki coming along with him. I'm coming on behalf of the girls. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mr. Wakahara. And, all the teachers are standing there at the gate, just frozen. They're staring out at what's beyond the schoolyard, and it just looks like, it looks like the moon. It just craters everywhere and dust. Unlivable.
Honestly, I interpreted that. I kept seeing that as water.
It does
very
have
turbulent
that kind of
water.
Movement. Yeah, it has that movement that looks almost like tar, kind of, is what I was thinking of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, see, I thought it was clouds. I thought that they were drifting. It's like, yeah, it's just a bunch of clouds and they think it's sand.
So, of course, everybody screams and yells and freaks out because, as Saki says, it's all just sand and rocks. What the heck's going on? So that's, like, kind of the problem I had with the first part. But, that's, like, how most horror has to go, where, like, with, like, these really kind of ridiculous circumstances that they're suddenly in the middle of somewhere else. Like, they gotta spend a lot of time, like, mouth agape and screaming because it's so not understandable. It's very much like the 70s manga style, like, mouth too. It's just, like, drawn over and over again, very the same, which is a little bit, like, stiff, but it works, I guess.
No, I always thought it was the eyes. I thought the eyes were...
The eyes combo with the mouth, done over and over again.
There's one student in particular in the, like, full classroom shot, the full classroom shot, where, like, I saw, like, a couple of the students, and basically, like, I was like, man, like, this just reminds me kind of like, offensive, like, drawing of Japanese people. Like,
especially, like,
Captain America comics.
Yeah, especially, like, the really smart one we meet later, like that 5th grade prodigy. It was definitely like
yeah.
I'm not aware of
it. It was odd.
Yeah.
What, do you mean the nerd stereotype he fit? I don't really remember how he looked.
That kid, like, he kind of looked like, basically all of my basis is on, like, villains in American comic books, but he looked like, what's the Shazam villain? Dr. something.
Dr. Savannah?
Yeah, Savannah. He looked kind of like that in the early comics, and then there was another kid too that just looked like, very, like, stereotyped,
They gave also, like, the princess. She's, like, a major evil girl. They gave her a hooked nose, of course.
Yeah.
They gave her a what?
But yeah,
a hooked nose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a stereotype of, like, a villain. Yeah. So he shows, like, freaking out, but, like, everybody's still standing at the gate. So he runs back to the classroom and tries to, like, inform all his classmates. And they, they don't believe him at first, of course. So he tries to take them to different places to look at, like, the windows, and they try to go up to the roof to see if it's true or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
this is where I got like mad. The girl that climbs the fence.
she's
'Cause,
very
like,
good at climbing fences, man.
Mm.
she is, and also she's 11 or maybe 10, but still, like, I understand she's panicked, but like, do these kids not know that falling off a building will kill them?
No, she's not worried
I can
about that at
see
the
her
time.
climbing, but yeah, it's a little bit silly where she's immediately like climbing and then like falls immediately.
Now, I interpreted that as like horror movies where all of a sudden they find a head in their mailbox or something.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is definitely the first like kind of major death that's like supposed to shock you, but
Yeah.
like just from a character perspective, it's like
Yeah.
that was supposed to be like a real person in the story, and they just like did this thing that to me makes like no sense, even like, you know, as a 10 or 11-year-old. I'm like,
I think the
really?
I don't
later
mean-
deaths that happen on the roof like make more sense than this one.
You think
Yeah,
I would
so?
agree with that.
Those ones.
I think it makes less sense for them to think I'm gonna turn into a bird and jump off of the roof. Like, I don't see how you could come to that conclusion.
We'll get to that part and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, so the kids trample each other as they're trying to get off the roof, and the one girl already fell off the roof because she was climbing
man,
the
that was
fence. Like,
horrible.
I want to see my mom. And they, you know, rush to the gate to try to leave, and Mr. Wakahara stops them. Like, all the other teachers are just kind of standing there, and Mr. Wakahara is just like the only one who's like, maybe you shouldn't go outside.
Yeah.
I do love it. The one kid's like, no, I'm going home. And he's just like, slap.
Ooh. Talk about
Yeah.
child
Super
abuse.
serious. I mean, we're just getting
Yeah.
started, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yep. Ugh.
I
So
mean, Sho
also-
thinks about the fact that he fought with his mom before he left, and he's, you know, crying about that.
Also, quick question, real quick. So, in this book, there's like, basically, so there's, you know, individual chapters with names, you know, but then there's like also just like little artwork pieces that don't seem to be actually part of the story, as if they're like cover art, but they're not attached to the chapters. Is that like, were they split up into like half chapters or something, or do you know?
Well, so first of all, this is the perfect edition, so I'm pretty sure it's gathering together what would normally be several volumes. Even if it's just like...
Okay.
But also, I mean, this was serialized, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was promotional artwork, like you were thinking.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was just a little confused. I was like, is this a stopping point or a starting point or just a fun little insert? I don't know, but
I don't know. There's not a lot of fun in this book.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that this was like, this would have been a lot easier on my psyche to like read in chunks rather than like, you know, all at once 700 pages. Considering this was serialized.
Although for me,
I
wouldn't have been able to get as into it as I didn't jump.
I mean, I read it in like two big chunks, like in 2 nights, one after the other, but, you know, I feel like it still would have been okay, like, in the serialized version.
I think once you get past the initial part where like they're building up everything happening, I think then you can very clearly see how things are separated into the different sections of like defeating this problem, and then suddenly there's this new problem, like immediately. Very little downtime. Somebody's always screaming and freaking out.
Yeah, for real.
Speaking of which, you know, their class, Sho's class is at the gate, you know, and the teachers have finally stopped them from trying to climb over the school gates to get out. And the rest of the school has figured out what's going on and is now screaming and running into the courtyard.
Yeah.
The
teacher gets trampled.
Oh yeah.
Is that that hasn't happened yet, has it? Oh yeah, later on she gets, but like before that they're like slapping as many kids as they can to stop them from running. Like slapping, shoving, whacking. Yeah, the one teacher, she gets, I'm pretty sure she's still alive, but she gets hit in the jaw and
that looked pretty bad.
Yeah,
I thought she did die.
I don't know. We never get
was
a head count on the teachers, I feel like.
Although she would have died anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, like that kick, I just I was surprised how bloody they made it. Like obviously maybe it was just like more shock factor, like whoa, but like yeah, I was like, really? A kid, like even a 10-year-old kid's kick to the jaw, like not wearing spikes on that shoe. Just seemed like a big explosion of blood.
I see.
I don't know.
I mean, it is your neck area.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I guess I was just surprised that it pierced. Oh, yeah, this.
Man, this guy.
Oh, yeah, so one of the teachers grabs one of the kids and using, like, the part of his glasses, he breaks it so he can cut the kid's arm and use it as a warning to the other kids to not freak out.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to scream now? He says, stabbing the one child in the arm, who happens to be his son.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that makes it.
Yep.
Is that worse or less worse?
That's worse. I'm gonna say that's worse.
I feel like in his mind at the time, he was like, I know this child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like from another person's perspective, that kind of really sucks for the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't trust your father again.
Yeah. Although he won't have to.
I mean, okay, so he did that to like stop the kids from screaming. He's like holding his son and like stabbed him in the arm. And the fact that he continues to hold his son like a hostage situation is like, that was what I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, as he says, I expect all the older students to model appropriate behavior. Look at the younger students. They're terrified. Like, I wonder why.
I will.
Oh man, he fell with the kid in his arm.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know why he fell on top of his son.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that more towards the end, but I have some theories about some things, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they talk about it later.
Is going on.
They do mention it a little bit later when they talk about like why did like the teachers why aren't they around anymore? It's like, well, adults are like set in their ways. They can't like perceive things that aren't in their reality. But us kids, we just imagine all the time. So we're better set up for like weird fantasy scenarios. Which I don't know, like maybe it's because it's kind of cliched now. Maybe it was more original, 50 years ago. But like it just kind of reads like a cliche now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's more to it than just that, with like people like falling down and having seizures and stuff. And
I mean, the seizures
going on murderous
stress,
rampages.
Right? But I guess. I mean, based on what we know about the environment, it's very dusty. It doesn't seem to be inhabited by like other humanoids, so I don't know how great it is doing to their body.
I guess, there could be like a radiation or maybe a microbe or something, I guess. There are bugs.
For older.
There are way too big to be like real bugs. Don't like those. That was probably, I don't know if we'll get to it, but I will say like that's probably the scariest part of the book to me. Is just that big old bug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they try to gather all the kids to the gym, and they have Sho try to go use the phone to call home, and of course his mom doesn't pick up.
The phone doesn't even.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Technically,
later on, we learn that he's able to psychically call out to her, and she picks up the phone, but that also might have been a hallucination.
I feel like
if it is a hallucination, it is convenient.
Logic.
I mean, their school did get transported.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know how reality, what kind.
I guess I'm just used to if you were able to do that. There's a reason you're able.
See,
maybe it's just the connection between a mother and son.
Actually, so
is it the love between a mother and son? Is that the answer?
So he tries the phone, it doesn't work, but then the TV doesn't even work. And I think that, obviously there's no electricity. So in the first place, it can't even begin to try to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The one guy tries the transistor radio because they're all convinced that this is some sort of war thing that's gone on. Maybe everything around us got hit and we're fine, but there's got to be people beyond there. Yeah, it just doesn't work. One lady has a seizure, and they're freaking out and discussing what's going on out there. It's too dangerous to try to leave the school. I do love where Mr. Wakahara shakes Sho, and he's like, "Your parents don't exist anymore. You've got to come to terms with that. Anyway, go lie to the other kids."
Yeah, just go lie. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right before that happens, though, the principal stumbles in all bloody, and I thought this was when the monsters were going to show up, but the principal's a robber came in and attacked me before school started and stole all the paychecks. I'm so sorry. And everybody's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's that doesn't.
Also,
that's not our biggest concern right now. Is not getting paid.
Also, I realized that like we just said, it doesn't really matter, but did paychecks used to work differently? I don't think I can just take somebody else's paycheck and
it was
try
a check,
to deposit.
Right?
I guess. I don't know. I feel like it has to be in your name. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
See, the way this was set up, it made it seem at least in this first panel, it's I thought it was a setup. He was the principal was gonna take away all the money. It was a weird Ponzi scheme. But then later that's kind of revealed to not be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, I was expecting somehow one of the adults to be in some way responsible for the time jump. And then
a random criminal just has time powers, or
no. One I don't know.
This will show the
science
teacher.
Yeah, this will show him.
No. I was thinking it was an experiment gone wrong kind of thing, but I don't know.
But then why are they doing these experiments in the elementary school?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, no, that proved
what
to
if
be
it just turns out to be the
well.
smartest kid?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. He is suspiciously right a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I mean, you know, of course, it doesn't really go anywhere. The principal part where like the paychecks are gone. It's just like ironic situation that sucks.
I thought the guy who took the paychecks teleported elementary school. I thought that it was connected somehow.
For some elementary school teacher paychecks.
I was like, that's a weird thing to just include there. No reason at all.
Yeah, so Sho, like, you know, he's told to lie to the other kids, and so he runs back and he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I've never lied, I can't lie. And then he gets there and they're like, did it work? And he's like, yeah, it totally worked. And like he does his best to like try to make it sound believable. He claims that the phone cut out before he could actually like talk to anybody or say too much other than know that his mom is alive and well. And like one of the other kids is like, you're lying, you know, the phone never worked, there's nothing outside of the school. And they start like fist fighting and Saki gets in the middle and she's like, he's never, you know, Sho has never lied, not once, like we gotta believe him. I believe him. And, you know, the one teacher's like, stop fist fighting, please. And, like, sort of gets in the way finally at the end.
Yeah. Also, that was actually an interesting, I don't know what to call her, but, like, you know, basically just, like, saying that Sho never lied because she was just accusing him of lying, you know, earlier in the story because they had the whole, like, after the earthquake, you know, he was all like, stop holding on to me, and then she's like, you're holding on to me. And so
that was more like she didn't want to admit the truth. It wasn't that she didn't.
Yeah, that was a little childish right at the time. And I do think, I don't know, I kind of do believe that she doesn't think it's true, but she wants it to be true.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like just that she was just calling him a liar in that childish fight, and then she's like, he never lied before. I'm like, huh.
Yeah, so I think one of the teachers, other than the principal, because the principal is all bloody and not feeling well, one of the other teachers comes on stage in this gymnasium and pretty much tells them, you know, so obviously we all know something weird's going on. You guys are a lot younger, so maybe you'll be able to understand this easier and be more flexible in the mind or whatever. Don't worry about this too much. We'll figure things out. We're the ones who've disappeared. Your parents are alive. And as soon as the kids hear their parents are alive, they're just like, yeah, victory. And Sho is like really upset. He's lying to us. Yeah, you know, the teachers just told him that our parents are dead. The teachers know exactly what's happening. And he's like, this isn't going to last long. So they're doing a smoke signal on the roof. It's just like, the smoke signal part makes me so sad because I'm like, nobody's going to see it.
I mean, but they don't know that, for sure.
When I first saw that, my perspective was off. I thought the angle was looking down at the school. Now I'm seeing it's looking up. I was like, whoa. Okay, now it makes a little bit more sense.
I mean, yeah, if we were looking down, I would have hoped that you'd be able to see the roof.
Mm-hmm. I thought that dark part of that image was the roof. But now I see it looks more cloudy.
Your mind is very flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Mr. Wakahara, who kind of takes charge. He seems to be the most leadership type of the teachers, and he's like, good job on lying. Kids watch so much TV these days, they'll believe all sorts of ridiculous things. We can't tell them the truth, though.
Here's my question. So he then mentions the problem is the third graders. They're the most difficult grade. but there are kids older than third grade. I thought his gripe was that they wouldn't believe the lie, so it would make more sense if the sixth graders didn't.
So he says, as he says, the older students know right from wrong, and the younger students don't know anything. So in between that is third grade, the transitionary, where they don't know anything and they're learning right from wrong, I think.
Okay.
Kind of like the terrible twos.
Yeah.
I do enjoy, so they're told that, the older students are told they need to look after the younger students and think about them. And as the kids leave the auditorium and are going back to their classes, they see the younger students all standing there, staring out creepily, children of the corn. And then they realize the one teacher is tied up, and they're like, Jesus Christ, that's so scary. The one kid poking her with the scissors, telling her to be quiet.
I mean, Wakahara was right, though. It was the third graders.
I do like that, or it's always immediately afterwards.
Yeah. That was, this was more believable for me, I think, just because I remember being in elementary school and just kind of imagining, I was like, oh, there's more children than adults in this building. We could totally take over.
Them.
Yeah.
Third grade is when you were imagining taking over the elementary school.
See, I never thought about that.
I was too busy bullying individual students, so I never saw the big picture.
No, I just was I don't know, I just had an overdeveloped sense of class unity, I guess.
That's great. So
anyway.
they've tied up the third grade teacher, so one of the kids can escape, and he's got his backpack and he's running out the school gate, and of course it's Saki's little brother, Takeshi, and she tries to run after him. He's like, I'm going home, and she's like, come back, please, and he just falls over, and she wants to go out there and get him, and everybody's holding her back because they don't know why he fell over, if it's dangerous out there or whatever. And everybody just kind of stops her from being able to go after him, and she feels really bad that she didn't go and comfort him immediately, she was too busy freaking out with everybody else. And Mr. Wakahara, of course, is showing up, and everybody's crying, and he's like, you need to stop crying, you're sixth graders, aren't you? And he's very obviously crying too.
Yeah. I thought it was weird that they didn't explain kid's death, Saki's brother.
They theorize about it later. It's weird still. It's never really cleared up. I think, yeah.
Later as in later in this, or later after this?
Later in this. Yeah, later in this, Saki theorizes. And it just doesn't make a ton of sense in my opinion. I think what they try to imply is that he had a stomach ache or something else that was kind of debilitating, and he fell over. And then he just died because they didn't pick him up immediately.
Right.
I guess he could die of exposure. It probably gets cold, really cold in the night. It's just, it's what did he have that he was going to collapse in the school with and not be able to get up from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe at first I thought that they implied that he fell wrong and hit his head.
But... I thought when I first saw it, I thought, oh, poisonous air.
Yeah, the radiation theory they have.
Yeah. I mean, after that was debunked, I kind of thought maybe his appendix just burst or something.
Right?
I guess, maybe. Does that happen?
He looks pretty fine where he's I'm going home. And then he's running normally and then just falls.
Yeah, does appendicitis usually happen to first graders? I don't
know. Okay.
Not funny.
Maybe that's not a very informed theory.
Yeah. So, they try to regroup again. And let's have a moment of silence for those who are no longer with us. The girl who fell off the roof and the little kid who ran off.
I don't think it was very silent.
They just give they're all sobbing, but they just give like everything to Sho. They're like, Sho, go check on the lunchroom. I'm sure everybody's hungry and needs the food.
Well, I think they explained that where it was Wakahara saw that he was like about to cry.
Yeah. Yeah, the next page they do talk about that, where he just immediately is like crying super loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so some of the other kids join him to go see the lunchroom, and they're like, think about it. The lunchroom always has to be stocked in the morning, so if, that's going to be pretty much our only food. Darn you healthy lunches. Yeah, so, jeez, that kid, like, seeing the bread on the floor of the lunchroom and just, like, immediately getting, like, stabbed by the broom, by the lunchroom man.
This guy is the worst.
Man, that lunchroom guy, he is no good.
I think he was one of the worst, like, other than the bug part. I think he was, like, one of the ones where I was like, wow, I wish he would die immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like him, the bugs, and then there's one other villain. Like I don't know.
The lunchroom man has like been here this entire time. He saw everything happen, and he went, yes, this room is mine now. Everything in here is mine. Screw you all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, screw those kids who don't know any better.
Yeah, freaking T is able to knock everybody away with that broom. Like, one of the teachers like, can you at least share? You'll be paid when we're rescued. And he's like, aha, broom attack.
And did this dude, it looked like this dude died. Like, the way he collapsed on the ground.
People get hit pretty hard. It seems like a lot of people die.
Oh, wait, no, I actually think he woke up later.
Yeah, he was in, like, the locked room with, like, the other hostage he takes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, the lunchroom man, what's his name? Sekaya. Mr. Sekiya. Yeah, Sekiya. Immediately, like, pulls out a knife, and I'm like, damn, he didn't have that already ready. And as he said, talk back and I'll get you like a pig. Everybody get out of there. And one of the girls falls before like everybody gets out, and so he takes her hostage. I mean, they think that he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back, and of course he immediately tells the classroom that someone's been murdered. Yeah. So I think it's Kyoko?
Akiwa.
Aikawa.
Akiawa?
Aikawa. Yeah. Yeah, so they all freak out, of course, and Mr. Wakahara, the teacher's like, okay, I'll go check it out. Like, you kids need to stay here. I do like the kids' whole they're all discussing with each other. He couldn't have done that. He gave me free bread once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He tied up the teacher and the little girl. God. Him and his knife.
Oh, man. And then what he does next, I was like, whoa. You just took...
That was intense.
Whoa. Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to survive that. I was like, took out the entire team. Where, like, he's just beating up his two hostages because they keep making noises. And all the teachers kind of come and, like, start knocking on the door and trying to get him to at least open and talk to them, and he just pours some gasoline and sets it on fire so it falls underneath the door and hits everybody on the other side. Freaking, I love Mr. Wakahara just like running off to get the fire extinguisher and like trying to extinguish it all and not even realizing like his feet are still on fire.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing, I think, that, like, you know, I don't know, I thought, based on what happens with him later, I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a, I don't know, like something was going to be up with him, but from what I can tell, it seems like he snaps later on in the story,
yeah.
But, like, you know, it is truly a... Like, I don't know, in my mind...
And he's also the most capable and focused of them all, so he just immediately goes for his goals.
Yeah. I guess I kind of imagined that maybe, like, you know, he, like, had this plan in his head, like, from the start, but now I'm realizing he was really trying to do his best before that point.
So, of course, the lunchroom man, like, threatens to cut the girl's throat with a knife again. You know, I'm in charge, the school belongs to me. And he's pretty much decided that every piece of food goes to him. Because he heard the teacher saying that there's no help coming, so obviously that means he needs to eat everything. Can you imagine all the energy wasted just, like, trying to, like, fend off everybody?
Yeah.
But, I mean, like the kids say, they'll only get weaker as they get hungrier, so I guess, you know, it is a curve of how much energy you spend.
Yeah, I do like the one kid, you know, they're all talking about what just happened, and the one kid's like, well, we're hungry right now, but we can't get the food, let's just fill up on water. And then they realize the water's not coming out because there's no electricity, and there's probably... You know, they've been cut off from everything else, so they probably have, like, only a limited amount of water in the pipes, if it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
I really like where they decide that they're gonna team up against the lunchroom guy. You know, they're right, like, with all of them working together, they could take down one adult.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if several adults did that?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, wait, no, maybe I'm confusing. I don't know. He just went through a bunch of adults, and then he couldn't get through those kids. I was like, you adults, what? You are adults.
I mean, they did get set on fire. But they were kind of, like, politely like, hey, open up.
Yeah.
After he took 2 people hostage.
Mm-hmm.
Also, why is a handgun just sitting there? I thought that would get resolved, and then I forgot. But
I literally am like, I never, like... Also, it's Japan.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's an elementary school, and it's Japan.
Maybe it's, like, the only thing I could think of is that, like, it's something that the thief who stole the paychecks had, and then dropped them away out.
I just wish they had, like, shown a bit more of a signal, even if it was just, like, blood, or if it was, like, specifically the pathway. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's just a gun. Yeah.
I do love
when I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's a bad situation.
It's not good.
It doesn't get better, does it?
Mm-mm.
The gun does not help that much. Especially the one kid.
Oh my gosh. When that kid...
Okay, the thing is, when the one kid's like, see, it's a real gun, I just shot it in your direction.
Hit the kid.
Oh my god.
I was like, wow. And they didn't even the kid got hurt.
Well, he didn't hit anybody that first time when he shot it. They're like, put that thing down, it's dangerous. And he's just like, bam. And they're like, oh crap, like hit the deck. They duck. I do like that kid's face, that kid who is like, how long ago was it? How many scenes ago was it? Where he's like, that dude gave me free bread. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
That was 100% pro murder. Yeah, we're gonna get him.
His line of dialogue, he'll hear it again when I shoot him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they go in, they try to take down the dude, and the dude is pretty smart in being like, people are going to try to come in, so why don't I just stand outside? Oh man, that poor kid.
I don't
stabbed in the back, and he immediately like falls to his knees and then just shoots in a direction and hits another kid.
What? Did he get stabbed or did he just get knocked out?
No, he got stabbed.
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't think they recover him.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, no,
okay,
he's
actually,
one of
no,
the dead
that
they
is.
buried
Are you
later
sure?
on.
I think that's the same kid. I think he survived that.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna
I mean,
say.
he might have
because,
survived,
like,
but he got stabbed.
Okay, the kid who got shot did not survive, at least.
No, the kid that got knocked out by Sekia.
Like when he falls forward, you see like blood.
Yeah, you see what looks like
no.
a gash wound.
So then, who was the kid that held the gun to Sekia after he was tied up?
We'll get to that part.
Yeah, what I'm gonna say is that I think that he survived that stab wound just because I think it's the same kid that's also like the Minister of Defense later on. He looks very similar.
His
at
face
least.
does look familiar. Yeah. That's a great thing to survive from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, though, so yeah, he gets stabbed. Somebody else gets shot, and then Sho finds.
And then they save the little girl. They survive.
Oh, yeah,
save the little girl from who is the hostage, but they don't save the teacher. So he's just there.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about him.
But Sho got away with the bread and milk.
Yeah. Which I'm like, now that you bring up that the teacher didn't get saved, I'm surprised that the lunchroom man didn't just kill the teacher out of retaliation. I guess he still needs a hostage. At least he has one. But
I mean, also, yeah, I think he really enjoys going around torturing his children.
Mm-hmm.
He sure takes his time with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Sho gets away, like, instinctively grabs some milk and bread, and he gets away, and they're like, when he goes back to his class, they're like, yay, one bread and one milk. But also, oops, the lunchroom man, Sekia, is roaming the halls, swinging a gun around and going on about missing bread.
Whoops.
You gave him a bread and you gave him a motivation to come torture everybody.
So that kid that says, he said he got the rest of the bread hidden now. I thought that kid was the same kid who was like, you're lying to Sho.
He is.
And so, okay. So then I thought he was going to be like, we'll serve him up. He's the one that stole the bread. All right, Sekia, you have him. Bear us.
I mean, I think the kids are smart enough at this age to be like, we kind of need more bread and milk.
Mm-hmm. But I thought it was more
but
like,
I don't know, like,
we don't want him to come after us. So you did him wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that kid, like, basically, he just could tell that Sho was lying earlier, and he wanted the truth,
I mean,
but
yeah, when you're in that kind of situation, you want the truth, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think he really has a thing against Sho so much.
Okay, it's sure seemed like that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So at this point, they, like, notice a little kid wheeling around out in the courtyard, and it's the little kid all the way back from, like, chapter 1 that Sho was playing with after school. He's obviously, I think, too young for elementary school. He's just on a little tricycle.
I like this kid.
I feel like, yeah, I usually don't like little kids who are brought in to be collateral, where it's like, oh, I hope this little kid doesn't die. Don't you think so too, audience? And I'm like, yeah, don't die. Normally I'm like, oh, I hate that little kid. I hope he dies. But, like, he's just like, I've been here since this morning. You said that you would play with me again. I was like, no.
I don't know. I guess
So
I found
cute.
that like a little bit suspicious, and so I thought that he could also have something to do with it. Like maybe he's
He
like
wanted
maybe
all
this
the time in
isn't.
the world to play, so he did this time travel.
The little kid has
I thought-
powers.
Yeah, or like maybe it isn't like really as sci-fi based as like, you know, we're led to believe, and it's like magic based or something, and he's not really a little kid, but like, you know, I don't know. I just was like, you seem a little too smart for like a little kid, but like I don't know. But I think I've
Hey,
abandoned
his mom taught
that
him how to
theory
write.
too. No, he didn't.
I mean, also the fact that
Or taught him to
he
read.
like was
That's
dragged.
what it was.
Yeah, she taught him a little bit. Like he's
Well,
he was
he-
able to like rewrite those words.
Yeah, he was able to reenact, I guess.
It's pretty good memory, like. But yeah, I think I can see how you could be suspicious. The fact that he's carrying, like, he has on his tricycle hooked up to it the old sign of the school, and Sho is really flabbergasted at like, why the heck does the sign for the school look so worn and torn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beat up and rusty. And he goes out and he's like, yeah, it fits pretty much perfectly to where it would be normally on the school front gate. And it's not there anymore, so what the heck? Why does it look so rusty? And I like the fact that they like spliced in afterwards where he thinks about the like time this dude... One of those cases that people always bring up is like, obviously this is time travel or something. They want the American plane one. But I kind of don't feel like he explains it that well where we get what he's trying to say.
Wait, is this a common story? Because I had never heard this before.
I've heard a story like it. I don't know if it was the same details as this one. So I was like, I couldn't tell if they were like basing it off of the real story that people always tell.
I
There's
get it.
definitely a story that's really similar.
What was the missing piece from trying to remember was that the plane. So the story was that two planes crash into each other. One of them just appears out of nowhere, and then the guy hears about a plane crashing years later and goes back to investigate. The missing piece for me was that the plane looked old, and then in the flight logs they were saying, "Hey, we crashed into a plane that we've crashed into something that we've never seen before." I was like, okay, so I get where he's going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. I've heard it before for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm on the same boat as.
But
Yeah.
I mean, this was made in the 1970s, so more recent to the story. But I mean, I think that's really interesting that he immediately is like, oh, time travel.
It's gotta be. Must be time travel.
Well, it's the same sign and it's all rusty. I mean, rust only comes with time.
There's no way something could
Well,
get beaten up and rusty.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the like land around him. Yeah, I like the little kid like writes out he goes, oh yeah, I found the sign over in the sand by the big rock that had the words on it, and he writes out the words for Sho. And yeah, the words are like, well, Sho just says lie, and they find out what the rest of it says later. But he goes to the sandbox. Sho goes to the sandbox automatically and is like, oh, where is it? And he's like, it's not this sandbox. And he's like, you gotta show it to me. and the kid kind of gets mad at him because they fight over the fact that like he's misunderstanding which sandbox it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to leave and shows like it's getting dark and picks him up and runs to the classroom, and they end up giving him the bread and the milk.
I thought the kid was suspicious in that he was crying, wanting food, and they were like, yeah, sure, let's give him food. I thought he was going to be like, okay, well, I have information, but I need some more.
That would really go in the face of the. Sorry, I was just gonna say that.
It's surprising that they like so quickly like gave him the food. I was like, that's really nice of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that if he started like extorting them for food, it would be really fly in the face of the idea that like anything below third graders doesn't know right from wrong. Be like...
Yeah.
Well, it would go with your idea that he's like not a normal little kid.
Yeah.
But also they're like much bigger than him, and they're already willing to fist fight each other. So start fist fighting the little kid.
Yeah.
I do like that immediately after giving him the bread and milk, he's like, I want to stay here. And then he just falls asleep.
And then the kids all of a sudden was like, hey, we have snacks.
The fact that, okay, right before that happens, they hear a bam, and they're like, that was Sekiya in the lunchroom. He must have killed someone trying to get food. And then
what can you do?
I found some candy. They immediately how much did these kids forget? They're like, man, I'm really hungry. I'm so tired out from crying about my parents. Wish we could have some food. Don't think about the cookies in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
You're so hungry, you just forget about food, don't you know?
I could believe that.
Yeah, I could actually believe that too. I've gone through a whole day of classes even. I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I had granola in my backpack that I packed 3 days ago.
Yeah, they gather up this pool of candy and snacks and other stuff they were going to eat supplementary to their meals.
Mm-hmm.
And they all cry about it, and the one kid starts mixing powder from a firecracker and makes a little fire at the front desk.
Well, what was that fire for? Just warmth?
Yeah, just warmth and light.
Warmth and light,
really
yeah.
Dark out.
Okay.
Yeah, they were saying it's really odd how quickly it's getting dark out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the kids stumbles in, is like, I've been tortured. Sekiya has been torturing other classes. He's coming here next. And Jesus Christ, he's just slashing the kids.
Yeah. It's pretty messed up. I was just like, whoa.
And he's like, oh, little brats, keep screaming. You're the one who's stabbing them.
Mm-hmm.
He has his dark past as he recites it that they called him Lunchroom Man instead of his real name.
Now, I thought it was weird that his reasoning was oh, you're making fun of me. But all the kids were like, no, we liked you. You were a nice guy. That's why we called you Lunchroom Man.
I mean, also, I do feel like he's the type of person who is trying to justify why he's acting this way. I'm sure it's along the same lines. He has this job that probably the teachers aren't too nice to him about. He's not that respected. And some random elementary school kids being like, thank you, is just not enough for him. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I do think he's just trying to justify why he's going to keep all this food to himself. And so the kid, as Sekiya is working his way to their classroom, he goes into the classroom next to theirs, and they kind of come up with a plan that they need to stick together and try to take him on. 3 of us per arm or leg. And they set up like barricades. The girls pretty much like are gonna hide behind the barricades, and if any of the boys go down, then the girls will like replace them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, and once he comes into the classroom, they all tackle him, and he tries to, he shoots at them, and I think he uses up, he's got 3 bullets left. When he shoots again, he's got 2 bullets. They're getting on his arms, and I'm pretty sure he like shoots, and it like scrapes the side of one of the heads of the kid. Freaking Sho just like punches him and like makes his nose all bloody.
And that's about it. And he was like, he's still standing.
And then the kids start to remember that they have teeth, and they start biting him. And like, they kind of smash him down onto the ground and take away his gun. And the fact that there's just 1 bullet left, and they like are like, let's kill him, and he's like, please, I know it was wrong, have mercy on me. I only tortured those kids because I had to.
I was so annoyed that he begged for mercy. I was just like, bro, were you going to give them mercy? No, you weren't. I was like, oh my gosh.
The only reason he didn't shoot as many kids as he could is because he didn't have enough bullets. I just believe that's the kind of person he was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
not a good person.
And then the kid misses,
Granted,
so yeah, it's fine.
First, I thought he wasn't going to shoot. And then when he fired, I was like, what? And then when he missed, I was like...
I mean, it is a gun, and there's a lot of kickback, and he is an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's stab him to death with pencils. Let's use pencil sharpeners to skin him.
I don't know how that one would have worked. I don't. Because pencil sharpeners
are
on
a
the
while.
inside.
That's what I would say. It would have taken a long time, and I think I would have been a different person by the end of doing something like that.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, and so they are excited and like run off to the lunchroom. It is nice that they have wheat flour, potatoes. Saki like talks to Sho, and she's like, I think you should keep the key to this pantry because I trust you the most, and if we get somebody who's hungry again, we're gonna have another Lord Sekiya who's like, you know, tripping on power. God, the fact that Sekiya had beaten the teachers and tied them all up when they go to the faculty room.
Yeah.
And he was taking down the kids.
They're...
Kids, yeah. Kids will do that.
Mm.
I think the part that really was like sad was seeing the first graders clinging to their teacher, crying because, you know, they would be next or something. I do like the prison for Sekiya where they put him in the locker and tie him up.
Just stuff him in a locker like he's a nerd in a high school movie.
Yeah.
Why do they even have lockers? They have to like bring everything with them to school.
I don't think it's a children's locker. It's gotta be like, well, I guess it would either be a gym locker or it would be one of the faculty lockers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh! You're talking about Sekiya. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it looked more like a prison.
That fits an adult. Huh?
Say that again?
I was gonna say a locker that fits an adult in an elementary school.
No, I thought it would look more like a prison. And it didn't even occur to me that, you have a prison inside of a school. Like, it didn't even occur to me.
Oh, yeah, it's just, the prison.
Just drop him in the elementary school prison area.
Yeah, there's the gym, there's the cafeteria, the jail, the music room.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so, they end up eating and kind of falling asleep, and when they wake up again, as the little kid says, Yu is his name, he says, the sun looks really weird. He's riding around on his tricycle in the classroom, and yeah, it's like a solar eclipse or something. I think from here, instead of going like scene by scene, we could just talk about big sections.
Mm-hmm.
So they find a grave marker, and it says grave marker for the 862 people, which
it's outside of the
kids.
School, right?
Yeah, it's in the sand where they didn't want. And so that kind of confirmed to show, all right, we're in the future.
Yeah, and a bunch of the kids try to go and find their houses, but of course there's nothing really there.
Where they would be.
And poor Saki, who's like, if it's okay for us to come out here, then what happened to my brother? And she runs off.
Yeah, they don't really touch on it for that long, but it's like a really intense when you think about it. Where it's like, oh, we just left her little brother to die for no reason.
It's only been a day, right? Because they finally got to nighttime, and then it's the next morning, the first morning where they finally see the sun again. Man. But yeah, they're pretty much confirmed. They're like, oh yeah, we came to the future. I mean, that's... In reality, then, their parents are dead. Everybody they've ever known is dead.
Don't think about it too hard. It's,
everybody,
their parents are still alive at the point at which they departed time. So they're alive, they just can't go see them.
They're just at a different place right now.
Technically, everybody's alive at some point in time.
Yeah.
And then one of the teachers just like, all right, I can't take anymore. Time to go. I'm going to go to the great beyond.
It's hard sometimes, those stoic faces they have for the characters where they're like, can't do it anymore. Just going to cut my throat. And you're like, oh, okay.
But then, is it Wakahara that's like, all right, you got to tie me up. And then he's like, too late.
Yeah, he goes up to the tree. He's like, you gotta tie me to this tree. And he's like, well, too late. And they're like, are you okay? And he seems to strangle someone to death. I think the principal.
The principal picks him up, is carrying him. And he's like, right there. I found where I was supposed to go.
See, I get that he stabs, but it also is... I shouldn't keep saying it. It's almost comedic how quickly he's like, well, time to become a killing machine. You should have tied me up. He literally says, you should have tied me up, and then pulls out his belt to, strangle the next teacher.
Yeah.
But that principal was still totally carrying him as he was doing that.
That part was just I thought oh, maybe this is a solar eclipse thing. He's, the other guy was like, I can't take this anymore. There's a solar eclipse, cutting my throat. And then Mr. Wakahara is I guess Mr. Wakahara, the difference between him and that guy is he's so self-preservation that he's going to kill everybody else before he kills himself.
Gotcha. Which really, I don't get how that makes any sense, because when you're the last person alive, do you really want to be in that position?
I'm not saying he wants to be the last person alive, but I'm just saying he cares about himself so much he'll kill himself last. He just wants to kill everybody, and himself included. Because he never seems to make any, any sort of try to, cordon off the food for himself or do something for himself. He's just so intent on killing everybody because that's the most important thing. I mean, I'm assuming that he's going to be one of the people he kills, but that's also never actually said, though, is it?
Yeah, I kind of wonder that maybe his intention was that, like, he's, like, in a warped way, he still feels responsible for everybody.
Yeah, he's
still
saving
feels
everybody.
like he sees the situation as hopeless, so the only thing to do is for everyone to die so they can stop suffering. Like,
yeah. I mean, along the same lines as the other guy, I can't take this anymore kind of thing. Just gonna nope out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man! And then shows he was like, "Show your hand is all messed up." And he takes out a bandage. I thought he was gonna use that against him, but no, he was like, "No,
I mean,
wrap it on your hand."
He was, but you see that panel where the other kids come into view and they're like, "Our houses are gone," and he's like, just bandaging this person's hand."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fact that all the other teachers are like very obviously probably elsewhere just like strangled to death, and he's like, "Yep, I'm the last teacher left. It's unfortunate."
I don't know. I don't really expect like a 6th grader who's like kind of has like an implicit trust with their teachers to like immediately suspect them of, and you're the only one left alive?
Yeah.
Like, that's not really...
Also, the fact that he was, like, the one who seemed to take charge previously, and so, of course, had, like, the most trust of everybody. Like, all the other teachers looked up to him, even.
But then why would you trust somebody who tried to kill you? There's also that.
I mean, he hasn't tried to kill him yet.
Has he tried to kill them yet? He hasn't shown any signs of that.
Seika.
Oh, when Seika tries to warn them.
Yes.
Yes, I understand that part where they don't trust him because he had a gun and he likes to torture people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of ruins your credibility.
Oh man, okay, so that kid did die. Okay.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I think there's just... It's a certain kind of style of face that they like to do often.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the kid who buries him who becomes the defense guy.
Yeah, the kid who becomes the defense minister has this weird like bowl cut, but it's also like seems to be like missing parts of the bowl.
Chipped bowl.
Yeah, I don't know what that style is called.
Man, they have to bury all the teachers too.
Oh man, it's really dark, this like grave scene where it's like Sho like starts to shovel. It's like, hey, you knew this kid, you put him in the ground.
You're next.
Like God, that's dark.
Where he's burying the kid, and then Sho is like, "You're next," and I was like, "That's not how you should say it."
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't even catch it.
Yeah, and then like they don't have incense to burn, so they just use cigarettes.
Mr. Wakahara, I mean, the next chapter is Mr. Wakahara taking them out in his car to like search for stuff, and then one of the kids like, it's such a weird scene where they like step on him, and they're like, "What are you doing in the like half buried with a plastic bag over your face?" And he's like, "It was Mr. Wakahara." And I was like, that dude is fast. They were running in that direction, and he did it before they got there.
But also, like, do you know what the deal is with the girl with the crutch? Because it seemed like she was like way out from the school when they all got transported. So like, what's her deal?
So, I mean, she was in the school, and as she says, "I was always bullied, I'm always a burden," and so she just started walking to try to go see her relatives. So she was at the school previously, and I just think the whole thing is nobody noticed, because nobody really notices her most of the time. I mean, she could have even left during the nighttime or something.
Okay, I guess I kind of misread it. Like, I thought she was still walking to school.
Yeah.
Nah, she says like she's trying to go to her relatives.
You said like Nagato, right?
I was born in Nagano, but my parents died soon afterwards. For a long time, I wanted to go back to Nagano, after my uncle said he's better off without me. And she's like, once I get there, I'll send help to you guys, as if there's anything there.
So to me, it sounded like she said, I'm going to Nagano. And I thought, oh, is that another elementary school? And then my thought was, okay, so people are still alive. She's just there. Oh, the only one you've seen for miles. But no.
No.
Yeah, I think they would have had a more of a like, oh my god, there's people alive kind of reaction, rather than like, oh, you're walking somewhere and you're sure that it's there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they even get to like the big river, right? And it's just a riverbed. It's all dry.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the one panel where he's like, look, the bridge used to be there. And it's like, that's not, how can you tell at all?
Yeah. The river panel is another example of, I thought that was water.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a craterous, like turned up, the dust has been like so moved around. It'd be horrible to walk in.
Now, so Wakahara put the bag over the kid and buried him. Within the time, they were like, got out of the car and said, hey, look, the river and the bridge.
Look at all they're like looking at they look at the river, they're freaking out about it. You can't see Wakahara there. And they're like, oh, look, a flower, but it's plastic, gross. And they're like, look at the junk over there. And they're talking about the plastic bags. And then they're like, wait, where'd the one dude go? And they start running around looking for him, and they find him. And he immediately is like, Wakahara did this. And I'm glad that they believe one of their own. Because they look at him, but also the fact that they look at him and he's just got murderous rage in his face and just runs for the car immediately.
Man, I was if he would have drove away and that was it, I'd have been a little bit more okay with what he did, just leaving them stranded. But he went further than that.
I mean, he already had tried to kill one of them with a plastic bag.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I was really hoping he was just gonna drive away.
I was expecting him to drive away, and then as they're chasing after him to just back up.
I mean that's pretty close.
Also, it made me think of the Resident Evil 7 boss fight with the car. I love that. See, he freaking runs over the one kid. Ugh. And the other kids run away, and the thing is he's trying to hit them with the car, and the other kids are able to run faster than the girl with the crutch, and Sho feels bad enough that he's just like, I'm gonna stay here with you. I do every time she's like, please leave me here and save yourself, please, and he's like, slap, shut up.
Yeah.
It works, though, where he's like, you need to save your energy. If you have enough energy to tell me to leave you, then you have enough energy to walk.
There's a bunch of those Batman slaps.
Yeah.
All over the place.
There are a couple.
I mean, but in the end, I think Mr. Wakahara gets the other kids because they were running ahead, so they were kind of out in the open, and the girl with the crutch and Sho get away because the girl with the crutch, she gets hit, but she throws her crutch through the window, and
I really thought that was going to get him
to kill Wakahara. I thought that would have been so awesome. Just killer hit. But, they run into one of the holes. Man, that part's crazy. The fact that they're like, this is a really man-made looking hole. Yeah. And then they get to the edge of the building.
I was like, whoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I think that was weird for me because, I imagined that the school had landed right where it was, you know? But now I'm like, if they crawled through a hole and then managed to get to the side of a building on an upper like
Yeah.
floor,
Well,
then that
I I think it landed where it
I was gonna
was
say the
horizontally.
it
But,
landed
like-
where it was. Yeah, pretty much. It just like on top because
Yeah.
like I mean the monument to them is very close by.
that's a good point. Okay.
But the building, I guess, considering this is supposed to be the future, the building could have went down, sunk,
I didn't think of that.
which means that there's some crazy stuff underneath them.
Yeah, I don't understand like what the extent of the Japanese cave system is, where they can just like have a whole skyscraper fall down.
I mean, it's been quite a few years.
I guess, but it's like for there to be like a second crust of the Earth to form over like whatever hole goes in, but then like the building not to be filled in. It just like the physics of it doesn't really make sense.
I thought that there was like a whole bunch of sandstorms that built the sand all the way till it covered a building. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, if we're following the idea that the school just kind of fell on top, doesn't mean that it's the same top that it was always there. I mean, then again, then why is the monument up there?
Yeah.
For plot.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, this is about halfway through the book. So this is where we kind of want to.
Yeah, Talon, I was going to say you were right that the husband doesn't show up until just now. I thought that they still had that little scene at the beginning with the mother being like, oh, show, like freaking out, and her husband being like, I'm here for you.
Yeah, that was when she heard his voice.
Yeah, man. So he doesn't show up until later. He's useless.
Not being a good dad is what I'm gonna say.
He ran as fast as he could.
I mean, but like he isn't even like the night before we don't see him at all, and then the morning of we don't see him at all. You're like, does he just like live at work?
Yeah.
The camera just didn't pan far enough on the kitchen or the dinner table for you to see him quietly eating there as they fought.
When they were fighting, he'd just be like.
I mean, it is also Japan with like work culture and all that.
Yeah, like I kind of assumed like they didn't have a dad, like they were like a Disney family, where like one of their parents is dead. But
I thought so too, or at least that he didn't have a dad.
I mean, like he has a biological dad, but like I figured like he wasn't around.
Right. This panel. So when he discovers that they're inside of a building, he just drops the girl.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna fall.
I thought
like,
so
it's
too.
not gonna end well.
Me too. Yeah.
And
You
I
gotta
thought
be dramatic.
It seemed like seemed like she was slipping. I was like, oh no.
Whoops.
and then when he fell off, I thought she was gonna fall off with him.
I should say, like, he's surrounded by a lot of sharp things. Does he really need, like, some magical plot device to, like, do the same thing?
But it's symbolic of his mother's love.
It is very interesting, and it tells us a lot about, like, you can put stuff here, and it'll be there later, and also, you can hear me, but I'm in the past. Or I'm in the future, God. It's some interesting
Yeah, I don't really
setup.
know. I mostly liked this chapter, the next chapter. You know, it was like it was a little break from the world, you know, and then
The constant snapping of the human mind.
yeah. Instead, just one human mind that's kind of snapping, but also kind of not snapping.
I mean, yeah, she practically punches the TV for trying to say that her son might be dead, and then she answers the phone and hears him.
Yeah.
But then, well, I mean, the phone call is revealed to be from somebody else. So did she actually hear him, or is she crazy? And, you know, she starts running around in the middle of the night, like, I gotta go find him. And then she hears him again, and it takes her to that hotel. And, you know, she's trying to find him. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, she was, for a crazy person, she's really smart to have, like, oh, they kicked me out of the hotel for looking like this, huh? Well, I'll come back looking different.
Well, to be fair, she's not crazy. She's just going through post-traumatic stress.
It's making her crazy.
And grief. Yeah. But yeah, so like you guys said, you know, basically, and we've kind of mentioned throughout this episode, but basically, Sho is like calling out to his mom because he's in a super life-threatening situation, and she can kind of hear him in the past, and she doesn't really understand, but she hides his favorite knife in the hotel wall.
and I don't know if we explained
her crying over the knife.
I don't know if we explained. Wakahara shows up in the cave and starts choking the life out of Sho.
Sho is like surprised by the fact they're on the side of a very tall building, obviously. Like the window's been blasted out, and he drops, you know, the other girl, and she literally looks like she's gonna fall, but then Mr. Wakahara makes it even worse by coming up behind him and starts choking him. Which seems to be his favorite method of death.
Which, I mean, isn't there like more efficient ways of doing it? You would decide, let's just choke the life out of people.
I mean, it's not as bloody. It's not as obvious unless you find the body.
Yeah, also I'll qualify this with like this information I'm pretty sure only comes from watching Law and Order SVU, but I feel like I've heard something about like strangulation being like associated with like mercy killing too.
Oh, really? I thought mercy killing was shooting them.
I mean, if you have a gun, but
yeah.
I just realized he could have just pushed him off.
Yeah, you really could have.
Gave him enough time to thwart him. Which I kind of think is the whole thing of like, well, I'm sure it's not this deep, but like, oh, if you're strong enough to stop me from strangling you, then you deserve to lead us all. Otherwise, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, true.
Like I was saying though, I really like the scene where his mom is like crying over, this was your favorite knife, Sho, and it's just like the portrait of Sho just like looking angrily over his back, just like and she's sobbing over his favorite knife. But I think she dresses up in a different outfit, she rents the room, she's very smart, and like, and then she uses a power drill to place the like knife in the wall.
Yeah.
It's so suspicious.
Man, I thought it was. So, my mind went to the wrong place, I think, when she made that phone call to the kid. She was like, hey, I need you to come over. I was like.
I mean, it is suspicious when you invite someone to your hotel room, but.
But also, too, she didn't tell him where she was. She was just like, come here.
Okay, so you invite someone to your hotel room and you also say, don't tell your parents about this.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, also the fact that she's like so much in grief over her son, I think I would kind of assume, oh, I'll just be her replacement son for a little bit. Mom.
I don't know if that kid would have been aware of
that. Kind of tracks.
And the fact that she's like, I have this knife and I'm going to give it to my son. He's in the future.
No. And he's like,
she's like holding it in front of the kid's face, and the kid's.
He's like, yeah, sure, that sounds right. I can be a part of this.
And just the fact she's like, you believe me, don't you, Shinichi? And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I mean, at the point where your school disappears and everybody's like, it exploded so much that there's a hole left where it was, but nothing else around it is hurt. Like, I think at that point you're kind of like, I guess this is happening.
Yeah, like what else can you believe?
So yeah, you know, she successfully like puts it in the wall and then hides the fact that it's been like put in the wall, so it just nobody will bother it.
It's a good thing that hotel never renovated.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that hotel was never demolished, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, who knows how far in the future they actually are? Maybe
That's
they're
true.
only like 5 years.
Like, when did this thing happen?
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah, so he uses the knife, which is like rusty beyond all repair, and like stabs Wakahara in the neck, and it snaps off the blade. But Wakahara, you know, falls to his death.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I thought the blade was already like that, broken.
Nah.
I mean,
Also,
he's lucky he didn't get the blood on him, or else he would go back to the school and they would have been like, why are you bloody? And he's like, everybody died by accident. Which, I don't know.
I mean...
Yeah. Also...
Accident.
Oh, sorry.
Accidents can get blood on you, so...
It's true. Also, I was just gonna say, I guess I take back that it could be like a small amount of time, because the mom does specifically wrap the blade up in like nylon and other protective stuff to keep it like pristine for him, and then it's not pristine. So like, assuming that she did everything right, that stuff like biodegraded and then the blade rusted.
Well, as always, we don't know what happened. You know, like what happened to like make the building this way too.
True.
Is he holding an axe? Oh no, it looked like an action figure for a second.
Freaking! Oh my god! When they go back to the school and someone's being crucifixed. They're like, whoa. It's the younger children again.
Is it third graders again? Or
the first, second, and third graders. I think the third graders assembled everybody.
Yeah, third graders started it, and then...
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then there's the queen.
Oh yeah. So they
first the little kids have thought of this whole thing that, oh, it's if we kill the person who's responsible for this, you know, who's bad or something, their last name starts with a TA, then, you know, we'll get out of this alive. We'll be back to normal. Now we just gotta burn him alive and then put him in as much pain as possible by spearing him.
Yeah.
The fact that Sho is like suddenly remembers their swimming pool and is able to like stop the kids because he's like, we have water, okay?
That's
yeah.
I just want to get to the part of the princess, because that really irritated me.
It's kind of wild.
Say it again?
That is after the bug part.
Oh, it is?
Is that directly after the bug part? I thought it was right before. I mean, first, some kid comes back to the school. He has a leaf, and then he like falls over, and he's like got sand coming out of his mouth. They introduce the genius kid who's like trying to explain to everybody what's going on. That genius
and
kid.
then
no, the princess is before the bug.
No, she isn't, because they go and meet the bug, and the bug kills one of them, and then the princess is meanwhile at the school happening before the bug even shows up.
Yeah. So yeah, basically what happens is that the kid shows up with the leaf that they thought was dead. He didn't die from the attack of the teacher. Um
Mhm.
and then but he's like, I think he dies right then and there, which is like kind of sad.
Yeah,
And
his mouth
then
is just full of sand.
yeah, and then a little kid goes to feed what's his name, Sugihira? No, that's
Sekia.
Sekia. Um, he goes to feed Sekia, and the Sekia tricks the kid into being all like, "My teeth hurt. Give me that wire, and I'll be able to." Does he want to pull it out? I think.
Does he want to
No,
stab
he's gonna
him in
like
the
tie
mouth?
it down, is what he said. Which is
Yeah,
not how that works.
But yeah,
I literally
guess.
just thought he was gonna do tooth extraction with a wire.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But anyway, so whatever his plan was, he tricks the kid, and the kid gives him the wire, and then he's able to escape the locker using the wire. And he's all like, like, he's been just like this little like mewling like annoyance in the locker, like, please let me out. And then he's all like, ha ha ha, I'm evil again now. You're such a fool.
he takes the
And then
food that he
like,
was given, shoves it in the kid's face, and then kicks the kid.
It's literally
yeah,
just ramen, dude. How long has it been since you've eaten? You're so mad that you're just gonna like pass up food.
He was like, "This, like I'm gonna eat this lame ramen."
yeah. And then so he basically, though, he doesn't like start slashing people.
Oh,
Luckily, he basically is like, oh, you're going on a search party to find this leaf garden place, take me with you or else. And it's like, oh, okay. So they go, and then he's like, okay, there's fruit, now you have to eat it in case it's poison. Eats it, it's sand.
it
The
turns to
fruit
sand.
is sand, or it turns to sand. Yeah. And then he's like,
Oh,
no way. And then he tries it, and he's like, oh yeah, it is. And then
you kids framed me, right?
then we get
Tricked me.
yeah, yeah, he thinks that he tricked him. Oh yeah, and then there's something in the bushes. He throws a kid out there, and it's a giant bug.
Okay.
Tries to throw the knife at it to kill the giant bug, because that's nutrients, you can eat that. um but it does not work. And then they run
It bounces off the bug.
and run. Yeah. um of course, Sekia tries to like sacrifice the kids so that slows the bug down. That doesn't work.
Some of the kids fight
um
amongst each other to try to get away too.
yeah, they fight amongst each other. Like, one of or two of the kids knock the other kid out.
So that they can run
And then
away
they start.
and leave him behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure
And then one of those kids.
Sekia is eaten.
No,
Yeah,
he isn't. He doesn't.
I mean, well, it's
No,
alluded.
it's like-
It's implied that he's eaten, and we'll find out the truth eventually of who was eaten and who wasn't.
Right, that's true.
But very
Yeah,
clearly,
so
very clearly, the one kid I think trips or something, and then the other kid who was like the one who like originally knocked out the other one, the third kid in the first place, like runs off with the little toddler. You, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the kid that the kid that doesn't run off. I mean, he runs off initially, but then decides to go back. He does try to just run at it and attack it. He doesn't trip.
He's the one who thinks that they should attack the antenna, and he tries to do that and doesn't work out so great.
And then they get back to the school, and it's like every time that Sho leaves, there's
Bad
something
stuff
new.
happens.
Yeah, it's like immediately it just turns. I'm like, ugh, gosh.
Right, it is right
So
after.
so there is a girl there. She seems older, but it almost seems like they're trying to imply that she's like, like older than a sixth grader sometimes, but I don't think that that's actually the case.
I think they're saying that she was held back.
Oh, okay.
She's like, that's why I'm stuck here with you, idiots.
Mm.
Takes a little.
I mean, but she also does say, you know, like, oh, girls grow up faster than boys anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she immediately is, like, picking on people. She's like, you don't look happy that I'm saying these things. Like, the dude hasn't even said anything, and she's, like, decided the little boy needs to, like, be taught a lesson.
Yeah, in fact, like, yeah, they declothe him and have one of her, I don't know, goons, I guess.
Which is
the best
weirdest
call him.
thing.
I step on him.
I was like, oh, that seemed. I was very irritated. It was very much like, ha, we're gonna use guys, against him. I was like,
I love her line after that where she's like, I'm not usually the sort of girl who sticks my nose in other people's business. Anyway, I'm like, she says after, like, just hurting anybody she can.
Oh my gosh. And then and then another guy steps up and attacks her, and she just, like, she wins and then just scratches his eyes, and he's like, oh my gosh, ah!
Yeah. Freaking, then her fighting with Saki, because they're fighting over whether Sho, like, the one kid who got back with the toddler, he's like, oh, everybody else was a coward. You know, I fought until the end, and then I got away. And he's like, didn't I bring you back, toddler? And the little kid, is like, yeah, you know, you saved me, I guess. They fight over that, whether, like, Sho is a coward in the end. They don't even want to talk about him anymore. Freaking, and then they decide to do a trial over, like, who stole from the food place. Freaking, one of the kids runs immediately, so they run after him, and Sho is, like, coming through the school gate at that point, and the kid runs up to him. Freaking, long story short, they end up having, what is it? Freaking even Sakaya, like, survived the bug attack. Like, so many people survived except for, like, one kid. The one kid who actually fought the bug was trying to, like, hurt its antenna.
Yeah.
I mean, technically that is the only one that we see get eaten, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they end up, you know, they continue to fight over who stole from the food place. The one kid is like, the only reason I ran is somebody stole my shoes, and I had to use these shoes, and these shoes are the ones that are, like, being linked to the crime, so I didn't do it. And then some of the little kids start to try to turn into birds and jump off of the roof, and that goes well. One of the kids falls, and the other kids go, oh man, he turned into a bird, let's do it too.
Several kids fell.
Yeah.
And then several kids start to fall. Freaking Sho holding up the dead body of the, like, little kid and being like, look at this is what happens when we're fighting amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the election. That was interesting. I mean, I think we should probably just stop around there, but I do really enjoy how the one kid says girls shouldn't be a leader show. They're only for childbearing.
Now,
he's the genius kid, isn't he?
He is.
I will say, I'm okay with him saying that in this context because the girl is not an example that proves him wrong. I'm like, she's not a good leader.
The problem is once you say it in this context, then you're kind of like, well, we can say it whenever, as long as we judge it to be okay. He should just literally be like, she's not a good person, instead of like, well, as a female, she's improper.
Yeah.
As he says, the female leader would fail to see the big picture. A female isn't fit to lead. Women are made to give birth and rear children, so they can't think long term. Their emotions cloud their logic. Like, if you're for child rearing, wouldn't you be thinking long term also?
Yeah,
I'm not going to try to debate this small child who has decided.
It's weird how it's framed, because it's like a 2-page long, just like talking to the audience about how women aren't fit to lead. Like, is this like the author getting a little too like real for him?
The fact that because the first part of his speech is like, you think the queen would be suitable, but she's too dangerous. She lacks compassion. I'm sure she'd institute a reign of terror, which, like, yeah, I agree with. And he's like, it's because she's female.
Because she's a woman, right?
The only trouble we've ever had in any of these situations is because of females.
Yeah.
God forbid all the other male teachers who have been killing everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, it gets pretty intense after that. I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically they elect Sho to be like prime minister of the school, and then they elect other people to be representatives.
And then met with their big task of fighting the bug.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the book overall, I guess?
I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. We all must have liked it because we all read all of it.
That was totally by coincidence. We had not planned that.
Okay, yeah, we said that we were going to read half the book, 352 pages or something like that, around there. I got to 390, and I was like, oh, whoops, I went over. Guess I'll keep going.
See, I must have forgotten that or something, so I was all like, oh, I just figured we were supposed to read all 750. I didn't know.
Like, no, I just forgot to check where I was, and I just read all of it.
I got to 299, and I was like, wow, and I haven't been reading that long. I'm gonna read the rest, sir. Why not?
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna stay up late anyway, so might as well read it.
Well, yeah, I liked it too, though. I was really impressed with the artwork. That was like so detailed. It was so cool.
Yeah, I think I said it already originally, because it's very 70s style manga artwork. So at times I was like, with the faces, but like that was only in the beginning. Once I got past the beginning part where they actually get into all the different scenarios, I think it's really good for its time, and like even now.
I'm kind of on the art. I'm not sure. I'm kind of here or there because I read an article where this guy was super going in on how terrible the art was. He was like, "This art is the worst I have ever seen," and I'm like,
"That's why you can't read those articles until afterwards."
And for me, I was like, "Well, I couldn't distinguish between sand and water." So that really bothers me. But then also the faces, they're all the same. But like, I don't know. Once you get into the story, the artwork doesn't matter. For me. I got into it and I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of the 70s style because I'm so used to seeing it in like gag work or whatever. So I'm always associating with like the humorous ones, especially this much of like a bubbly kind of cartoony style, I would say. But I think it shows how good he is at like his work, that it works for like this horror setting.
Yeah, this was a really I didn't know what to expect really, and it was entertaining. All right, so for next week, like I was saying to you guys, we're going to be reading the Saga of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. It's going to be, because like, it was a published comic book at the time. It's like issues 20 through 27. But it's all collected into one because it's when Alan Moore started writing it. So yeah. That's what we'll be doing. Until next time, this has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.